Okay, today we're continuing with percents and we're talking about percent of change. And the percent of change is the ratio, which means it's a fraction, of the amount of change to the original amount. So we have percent of change, and we have the amount of change divided by the original amount. Sometimes we think about this as the new minus the old divided by the old. That's just another way to look at it. Okay. When the original amount goes up, it's called a percent increase. When the original amount goes down, it's called a percent decrease. So let's work an example. So Beth bought a $75 pair of jeans for $60. Find the percent of change and classify as percent increase or decrease. So we've got to figure out what's the original and what's the new. What's the old and what's the new? So what did it start at? The jeans started off at the price of 75. So 75 is the old and 60 is the new. So we have to find the change between those. So if we follow the new minus old divided by old formula, we're going to do 60 minus 75 divided by 75. And yes, you do get to use a calculator. So when we do this, 60 minus 75 equals a negative 15 divided by 75. Now, that negative is nice in the fact that that reconfirms that, notice the price went down from 75 to 60. So based on that, we know it's a decrease, but it's also a negative number. So that reconfirms that I'm supposed to have a decrease for my percent of change. Okay, so now we do the actual division of 75 divided into negative 15. That means it's going to look like this in the calculator. Or if you do it by hand in the calculator, you press negative 15 divided by 75. I can't think of it. Okay, which gives me negative 0.20. The key here is that's a decimal. I want a percent. I need a percent. That means I have to move the decimal twice, or you think of it as multiplying by 100, and that gives me 20% decrease. And you can shorten by just writing DEC. All right, let's work one more example. Okay, and when you're having to round, I'll talk about how to do that in just a second. Okay, so let's look at number one. John went from weighing 140 pounds to 155 pounds. So the starting weight is 140. So this is my old. The 155 is my new. So again, if I do the new minus old divided by the old, and if you want to, you can set this up as a proportion equals percent over 100 and solve it that way. It's your choice. I'll solve this one with the proportion. This one we did not use a proportion. So I'm going to have 155 minus 140. I'm going up, so this is going to be an increase, and I have to find the percent of change, and I have to classify as an increase or a decrease. So we have to do both. Divided by the old, which is 140. equals X over 100. So now I'm going to simplify this, which that's going to give me 15, and I'm going to multiply diagonally. And we end up with 140x equals 1500. Divide by 140. And I'm going to end up with, if I do that in the calculator, I'm going to do 1500 divided by 140. And we get this long decimal. Well, this is where I round to the nearest tenth, which means it's going to be 0.71. So I'm going to have 10.7% increase. Now, if I just do the division of 15 divided by 140, okay, so this is one way of working it. This is one way, and this is the second way. If I do 15 divided by 140, enter, you notice we get this long decimal, but I need to go 3 decimal places out for rounding purposes. Actually 4, because I've got to look at the 1 to make sure that I round the 7 correctly. Because remember, we have to move the decimal twice. So we end up with about 0.107. And then, excuse me, we move the decimal twice and we get 10.7% increase. You're going to do the odds for the rest of the problems. Again, pause it, rewind, or come ask me questions. Have a great day.